In a future not too far from now, humanity had reached the peak of technological advancement, but with it came the overwhelming weight of stress. The modern world had become a place where the constant noise of work, war, and endless deadlines had crushed the spirits of its people. Governments, in a bid to maintain order, had introduced a new program, a way to keep the citizens calm, focused, and most importantly, obedient. It was called the Stress Relief Program, and it was mandatory for every citizen. The program was simple yet highly effective. Each citizen, once they reached adulthood, was assigned an alien partner, one of the genetically engineered, empathic, stress relief alien girls. These girls had been specially created to have calming, soothing effects on humans. Their mere presence could melt away the most intense pressures of daily life, and their role was to help people relax in ways that would keep them functioning properly in a world that demanded so much. Commander Alex Wren, a decorated military officer who had been through countless battles and survived intense conflicts, was now a victim of his own success. He had risen through the ranks, earning respect and admiration from his peers. But the price had been high. The years of war, loss, and sacrifice had left deep scars on his soul. The sleepless nights and the constant weight on his shoulders had left him a shell of the person he once was. So when the government issued an order requiring all citizens to participate in the stress relief program, Alex didn't think much of it. He was used to following orders. A small part of him hoped it might provide the release he needed, an escape from the suffocating pressure that came with his career. But he was also skeptical. It all seemed too simple. Could an alien really make him feel better? And why did the program sound so much like a way to keep the population docile? The moment Alex's participation was confirmed, a message was delivered. To him, detailing the specifics of the program. He would be paired with an alien, a young woman named Ziara. Her name was followed by a list of personal traits: beautiful, empathetic, calming, and understanding of human emotions. But there was something about the last note on her description that intrigued Alex more than anything else. Ziara has a strong will and will not tolerate being objectified. This last part gave Alex pause. The thought that the alien girl assigned to him might be different from the others sparked his curiosity. Could she be more than just a tool for relaxation? What did it mean for her to refuse to be objectified? When Alex arrived at the designated facility to meet his stress relief partner, he was escorted into a small minimalist room. It was calm, serene, everything a place of relaxation should be. The walls were painted in soft shades of blue and green, the kind of colors that immediately made one feel more at ease. A low hum of soothing music played in the background. Almost imperceptible, but calming. Ziara stood in the center of the room when Alex entered. At first glance, she appeared to be the epitome of what the program promised. She was tall, her skin a pale, shimmering lavender that seemed to glow under the soft lighting. Her hair, long and flowing, cascaded like liquid silver down her back. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and an unnatural shade of violet. They were filled with depth and intelligence, far beyond the peaceful calm one might expect from a simple companion. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Commander Wren," she said softly, her voice a melodic whisper that seemed to reverberate in his chest. "It's an honor to meet you. I hope I can help you find peace." Alex wasn't sure what to make of her. She was beautiful, no question about that. But there was something else. There was an intelligence in her eyes, a knowing that suggested she was far more than a simple companion. She wasn't just here to calm him. She seemed to be aware of her role, of her purpose, in a way that made Alex feel slightly uncomfortable. Sure you can," Alex replied, his voice low and cautious. He stood still for a moment, trying to gauge the situation. He wasn't sure how to interact with Ziara. Was he supposed to act like this was normal? Was he supposed to treat her like an object to help him release his stress? But Ziara wasn't just standing there, waiting for him to decide. She took a step closer, her movements graceful and fluid. There was a certain elegance to her that made it difficult for Alex to look away. "You seem uncertain," Ziara said, reading his mind with ease. "You're not the first. Most people expect more from this experience than simply calming their nerves, but my role is not to be just a form of escape, Commander. I'm here to help you find true peace within yourself. And that means we will do things differently." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Differently?" he repeated. Ziara nodded. "Yes. Many citizens expect that I will offer them a release, physical or emotional, but that is not why I am here. I am here to help you confront what lies beneath the surface, to heal in ways that are not temporary. And to do that, we must first understand each other. That is the only way to truly find peace." Alex felt a sense of surprise wash over him. This wasn't what he had expected. This wasn't a simple program that promised quick, easy relief. Ziara was challenging the very foundation of what he had assumed about the stress relief program. "You don't want to undress for me, do you?" Alex asked, almost without thinking. The thought had crossed his mind. After all, this was what the program was known for. Every citizen he knew who had gone through it spoke of the aliens' willingness to help them release their stress in any way they saw fit. It was expected. Ziara's gaze hardened, just for a moment, before she softened again. "I will not undress. For you, Commander," she said firmly, her voice unwavering. "And I would ask that you not expect it of me. My purpose is not to serve you as an object. My purpose is to help you find peace in your mind, your soul, and your heart. And I will only do so by respecting your dignity as a human being." Alex was taken aback. He had never expected such an answer. Most of the people who had gone through the program had been more than eager to take advantage of it. But Ziara was different. She wasn't willing to submit. She wasn't here to be used. "You're not like the others," Alex murmured, more to himself than to her. Ziara met his gaze. "No, I am not," she agreed. "And I hope you will come to appreciate that." There was silence between them for a moment, an unspoken understanding forming in the air. Alex wasn't sure what he expected from the program, but it certainly wasn't this. His whole life he had been taught to follow orders, to accept what was given to him without question. Yet here was Ziara, breaking all those expectations. She was offering him something deeper, something he couldn't quite grasp yet. "How do we begin?" Alex asked, his voice quieter now. He was no longer the commander giving orders. He was a man, faced with a challenge he didn't fully understand, but was determined to face head-on. Ziara smiled gently. "We begin by talking. We begin by listening to what you truly need. And together, we will find the peace that has been missing from your life." As they sat down and began their conversation, Alex felt something stirring within him. Perhaps Ziara was more than just a stress relief tool. Perhaps she was the one person who could help him find the healing he had been searching for all along. But as the hours passed, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Ziara's defiance than she had let on. Her refusal to be an object wasn't just about standing up for herself. It was a deeper rebellion against something far more sinister. And Alex wasn't sure if he was ready to face that truth. As the days went by, Alex spent more time with Ziara, trying to understand what made her different from the others in the stress relief program. While the other citizens he knew were enjoying their time with their alien companions, expecting nothing more than temporary relief, Alex found himself growing more and more intrigued by Ziara. She was unlike any other alien he had encountered. Her refusal to undress, to submit to the typical expectations of the program, weighed heavily on his mind. It wasn't that Alex didn't find Ziara beautiful. He did. In fact, he found her even more captivating because she wasn't what he had imagined. The other alien girls, while stunning in their own way, had always been presented as objects meant for relaxation. Their beauty often emphasized to ensure the citizens would not question their roles. Ziara, however, wasn't trying to captivate him through looks alone. She was trying to reach him in ways that were far deeper than simple attraction. Alex had never been one to open up easily. His military training had taught him to guard his emotions, to stay focused on the mission. But when he was with Ziara, something was different. She didn't ask him to share his deepest fears or desires. She simply listened. And in return, she shared her own thoughts, her own feelings. There was an honesty in her that Alex had never encountered before, especially from an alien. One evening, as the sun set and the soft glow of artificial lights filled the room, Alex found himself sitting across from Ziara, lost in thought. "You've been quiet today," Ziara remarked, her voice gentle but curious. Alex sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I'm just trying to figure you out," he said. "I thought the point of this program was for me to relax, you know? But you're not like the others. You don't fit the mold." Ziara's violet eyes met his, filled with understanding. "I was never meant to fit the mold, Commander. I was created for a different purpose, one that goes beyond simply providing temporary relief." Alex raised an eyebrow. "A different purpose? What do you mean?" Ziara stood up and paced around the room, her movements graceful and fluid. "When the stress relief program was designed, it was intended to make the citizens docile and obedient, to make them forget their struggles, to help them cope without questioning the system that caused their pain. But I wasn't made for that. I wasn't made to be a tool for control." Alex felt a pang of discomfort at the mention of control. It was something he had suspected but never fully acknowledged. The program, which seemed so harmless on the surface, had a darker purpose. "So you're telling me that you're not just here to help me relax?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "You don't want to do what the others do? Undress, spend time with me, relieve stress?" Ziara turned to face him, her eyes filled with calm certainty. "No, I am not. Here to serve your desires, Commander. I am here to show you something else, something more meaningful. I want to help you find peace, not just in your body, but in your mind and spirit. True peace comes from understanding, from facing what lies beneath the surface." Alex was silent for a moment. He had spent years numbing himself, pushing his feelings down, pretending they didn't exist. But here was Ziara, challenging everything he had been taught to believe. She was asking him to look deeper, to confront the very things he had avoided for so long. It was both frightening and exhilarating. "Why are you so determined to resist the program?" Alex asked, his voice softer now. "Why not just go along with it? It would make things easier." Ziara's expression hardened slightly, though. It was still full of compassion. "Because I believe you deserve more than what the program offers. You deserve to be free from the chains that bind your soul, free from a system that controls your every move, even your emotions. You were not created to be a tool for relaxation, Commander. You were created to live with purpose, to think for yourself, to challenge the system that tries to keep you compliant." Alex leaned forward, his heart racing. Ziara's words resonated with him in ways he couldn't fully understand. All his life, he had been part of a system that took away individuality, that sought to control everything, including the people who lived under its rule. Now here was Ziara, an alien created to do the opposite, to give him the chance to break free. "But isn't it hard?" Alex asked, the question escaping before he could stop it. "To live like this? To resist everything you were created for?" Ziara smiled softly, the expression full of quiet strength. "Yes, it's difficult. But I believe it is worth it. There is freedom in choosing your own path, in deciding what your life will mean, rather than having it dictated by others. I want to show you that, Commander. Alex was silent, processing her words. He had spent his entire life following orders, always trusting that the people in charge knew what was best for him. But now, with Ziara's unwavering presence, he began to wonder if he had been wrong all along. Had the path he was on been the right one? Or had he simply been too afraid to question it? I don't know if I can just stop following orders, Alex admitted, his voice hesitant. It's what I've always done. It's what I was trained to do. How can I just stop? Ziara stepped closer, her presence both calming and reassuring. You don't have to stop, Commander. You just have to think for yourself. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to challenge the system that controls you. You have the power to change your life, to change everything, but it starts with you. Alex looked into her violet eyes, and for the first time in a long while he felt a sense of hope. He wasn't alone in his struggle. Ziara, though an alien, seemed to understand him better than anyone ever had. She wasn't trying to manipulate him. She wasn't trying to control him. She was simply offering him a chance at something greater, something he had never even considered. Over the next few days, Alex found himself opening up more to Ziara. They spent long hours talking about everything and nothing. She listened to him vent about his past, about the wars he had fought and the people he had lost. She didn't judge him, didn't try to fix him. She just listened, offering support in the quietest, most profound way, and the more he talked to her, the more. He realized that his own feelings of stress and fear had less to do with his work, his duties, and more to do with the emptiness inside of him. He had spent so many years burying his emotions, pushing everything down so that he could survive, that he had forgotten what it meant to truly feel, to live freely. One night, as they sat together under the soft lights, Alex asked Ziara a question that had been gnawing at him for days. Why did they make you, Ziara? Why create aliens like you just to be a part of this program? Ziara's eyes grew distant for a moment, and Alex could tell that this was a question she had thought about many times before. Finally, she answered, I was created to help, but not in the way they thought. I was designed to understand the human heart, to empathize with your pain. But my creators also feared what would happen if I knew too much. They feared I would be a danger to their system if I became too aware of my own purpose. So they tried to keep me in check, to keep me confined to the role they assigned me. Alex could hear the pain in her voice, and it made him angry. How? Could anyone create a life just to control it? How could they build something with so much potential and then reduce it to a tool for relaxation? Ziara continued, her tone steady despite the emotion in her words. But I refused to be controlled. I wanted more than that. I wanted to know what it meant to truly live, to help people not by just soothing their minds, but by helping them find their own strength. And that's why I'm here, Commander. To help you, and maybe through you, help others see the truth. Alex felt a deep sense of admiration for Ziara. She had been created to serve, but she had chosen her own path. She had chosen to defy the program and fight for something better, something real. And in doing so, she had given him the courage to do the same. As the days passed, Alex found himself questioning more and more about the program, about the world he had lived in for so long. It was no longer just about finding peace through relaxation. It was about something far more profound, and he knew that with Ziara by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. As the days passed, Alex found himself drawn deeper into the mystery of the stress relief program. He had always thought it was just another government initiative, one designed to help people cope with the overwhelming pressures of daily life. But now, after his conversations with Ziara, he was beginning to see that there was far more to it than that. There was a darkness behind the program, something that stretched far beyond mere relaxation, Ziara had given him a glimpse into the truth, and the more he thought about it, the more disturbed he became. The program wasn't just about soothing stress. It was a carefully crafted mechanism to control the population. The citizens, by receiving their alien partners, were being lulled into a state of complacency. They were being kept calm, docile, and obedient. The program had been designed to make them forget about the injustices of the system, to numb their pain and prevent them from questioning the authorities that held the power. The more Alex learned about Ziara, the more he realized how much she was willing to sacrifice to resist the system. She wasn't just rebelling against the program, she was fighting to give people the truth, to wake them up from the false sense of peace that the program had created. It wasn't just about relaxation for Ziara. She had told him that her true purpose was to help people see beyond their pain and fear, to show them that they were more than just subjects in a system designed to control them. She had been created as a tool of control, but she refused to be one. And in doing so, she had become something much more. As Alex spent more time with Ziara, he began to notice small things that he hadn't seen before. The way she would sometimes hesitate when speaking, as if she were carefully choosing her words. The way she would avoid certain topics, as if they were too dangerous to discuss. It was clear that she was hiding something, and Alex was determined to find out what it was. One evening, as they sat together in the quiet of the room, Alex decided to ask her about it. "Ziara," he began, his voice tentative. "You've told me a lot about the program, about how it controls people, but I still don't understand. Why were you created in the first place? What was the real purpose behind all of this?" Ziara's eyes darkened slightly, her expression turning serious. She sat in silence for a moment, her hands folded in her lap. Then, slowly, she spoke. "I was created to be a part of the program, yes. But I wasn't meant to be like the others. The original plan was to design a species of aliens that could provide stress relief through physical means. The government thought that by creating these perfect companions, they could keep the population calm, docile, and prevent any uprisings or rebellions. They believed that if the people were satisfied and relaxed, they would never question the system." Alex listened carefully, trying to absorb everything Ziara was saying. But the creators of the program didn't anticipate one thing, she continued. They didn't anticipate that some of us would have our own consciousness, that we would be able to think for ourselves and see the flaws in their system. I am one of the few who was designed to be more than just a companion. I was created with the ability to understand the human mind, to empathize with your struggles, and to see the bigger picture. Ziara paused for a moment, her gaze distant, as if lost in thought. Alex waited, knowing that she wasn't finished. "Yet, they thought they could control us," she continued. "But they underestimated us. They underestimated me. I knew from the moment I was activated that my role in this program was wrong. I wasn't meant to be a tool of control. I was meant to be a guide, a helper, not a prisoner to their system." Alex felt a surge of anger rise within him. How could anyone think they had the right to create beings like Ziara, only to use them as tools for manipulation? How could they turn living creatures into instruments of control, all for the sake of keeping the population calm and obedient? "And what about the other aliens?" Alex asked, his voice tight with frustration. "Are they all like you? Are they all resisting this control?" Ziara shook her head slowly. "Most of them aren't. The majority of the alien companions are programmed to follow the orders given to them. They don't question their role in the program because they don't have the ability to. They were designed to be compliant, to serve without thinking for themselves. But I was created differently. I wasn't meant to be a passive participant. I was meant to be more." Alex leaned forward, his heart racing with the implications of what she was saying. "So, if most of the aliens are just following orders, then why are you different? Why did they let you become conscious of what's really going on? Ziara's expression softened, and she let out a small sigh. It wasn't intentional. My creators didn't mean for me to become aware of the truth. But they made a mistake. They gave me too much autonomy, too much freedom. They couldn't control that part of me. And when I realized what they had done, I made a choice. I chose to defy the program. I chose to resist. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He had been living in a world where everything seemed controlled, predictable. But now, with Ziara's revelations, he realized how deep the manipulation went. It wasn't just about calming the citizens. It was about controlling them, keeping them subdued, preventing them from ever rising up against the powers that controlled their lives. And what happens now? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What are we supposed to do? How do we stop this? Ziara's eyes locked onto his, a quiet determination shining in them. We fight. We expose the truth. We wake up the people to what's really happening. The government has been lying to them for years, telling them that the stress relief program is for their benefit. But the truth is far darker. The program is a tool for control, for pacification. Alex felt a surge of resolve. Ziara was right. He had spent his entire life serving the system, doing what he was told, following orders without ever questioning why. But now, with Ziara's guidance, he saw the world in a new light. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the millions of people who were living in ignorance, accepting their manipulated peace without realizing they were being controlled. We can't just sit back and let this continue, Alex said, his voice steady with newfound conviction. We need to take action. We need to expose the program for what it really is. Ziara smiled, a hint of pride in her expression. I knew you would understand. But we must be careful. The government is powerful, and they will do everything in their power to stop us. We have to be strategic, patient, but together, we can change everything. The weight of their task settled over Alex, but it wasn't a burden he felt incapable of carrying. With Ziara by his side, he knew they had a chance to expose the truth and bring down the system that had controlled them all for so long. The days that followed were filled with careful planning. Alex and Ziara began gathering information, studying the inner workings of the government's control mechanisms. They knew it wouldn't be easy. They knew the risks. But they also knew that they couldn't keep living in a world built on lies. They couldn't stand by while people were controlled, manipulated, and kept in the dark. As Alex worked alongside Ziara, he began to feel a sense of purpose he had never known before. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a part of something much larger, a movement for freedom, for truth, for a world where people could think for themselves. And as the days turned into weeks, their plan took shape. It was risky. It was dangerous. But Alex knew that the only way to truly find peace was to fight for it. The days passed quickly as Alex and Ziara's plan began to take shape. What had started as a conversation between two individuals, one human and one alien, had turned into something much larger. They were no longer just a commander and a companion. They were allies, united by a common goal to expose the truth behind the stress relief program and end the system of control that had kept humanity docile for so long. The task ahead of them was monumental. They had to infiltrate the government's central command, the heart of the program, where the truth was buried under layers of secrecy. The facility was heavily guarded, protected by both technology and the influence of powerful officials. It was a fortress of control, and getting inside would be no easy feat. But with Ziara's intelligence and Alex's military experience, they had the skills they needed to navigate the dangers that lay ahead. Their first step was to gather information. They knew the government would be watching them closely, so they had to be discreet. Every move, every conversation had to be carefully planned. They used every resource at their disposal. Alex's old connections, the few trusted allies who still believed in the cause, and Ziara's unique abilities to communicate with others without raising suspicion. Ziara, though not able to directly hack into the government systems, could use her empathic abilities to gain the trust of key individuals. She could subtly influence their thoughts, plant seeds of doubt in their minds, and make them question the very system they were serving. But even with her power, they knew they couldn't do this alone. They needed more than just information. They needed a plan, a blueprint for how to infiltrate the heart of the program. Late one night, after hours of strategizing, Alex and Ziara sat in the dimly lit room they had been using as their base. The tension between them was palpable. They knew they were running out of time. The government would soon realize that something was wrong. It was only a matter of time before they came looking for them. "We can't wait much longer," Alex said, breaking the silence. His voice was firm, but his mind was racing. "The longer we stay hidden, the more dangerous it becomes. They'll figure out what we're doing soon enough." Ziara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I know, but we must be careful. If we move too quickly, we risk making a mistake. The government is powerful, and they will not hesitate to stop us if they find out what we're trying to do. We need to be smart about this." Alex stared at the floor for a moment, his thoughts weighing heavily on him. He had never felt so uncertain, so vulnerable. But he knew that Ziara was right. Rushing into the heart of the enemy's territory without a clear plan would be suicide. They needed to be strategic. They needed to act when the time was right. "There's something we can do," Ziara said suddenly, breaking his thoughts. "I've been thinking about how we can access the main facility. There's a hidden entrance, one that isn't monitored as heavily. It's an old tunnel system that runs beneath the government's headquarters. It was used for maintenance purposes when the facility was first built, but it was sealed off years ago. I believe it still exists, and if we can find it, it could be our way in." Alex's eyes widened. "You're sure about this?" Ziara nodded. "Yes. I've seen the blueprints. It's not commonly known, but it's there. If we can get to it, we can bypass most of the security." Alex considered this for a moment. It was risky, but it could work. "All right," he said, his voice steady. "We'll go with your plan. But we'll need to be careful. We can't afford to make any mistakes." Ziara smiled. "We won't." The next few days were spent preparing for the infiltration. Alex and Ziara gathered supplies, made sure their equipment was in working order, and continued to gather information on the layout of the facility. They were careful not to draw attention to themselves, knowing that the government's surveillance systems were constantly watching. When the time finally came, they set out under the cover of darkness. They moved swiftly, blending into the shadows as they made their way to the entrance of the hidden tunnel. The tunnel itself was old and forgotten, a relic from a time when the government hadn't yet established its massive surveillance network. It was dark, damp, and smelled of decay, but it was their only hope. After hours of navigating through the maze of tunnels, they finally reached the main facility. They were close now, so close they could almost taste the victory. But there was no time for celebration. They had to remain focused. Ziara led the way, her steps light and sure. She seemed to know exactly where to go, and Alex followed closely behind her, his senses on high alert. They encountered a few security drones along the way, but Ziara was able to use her abilities to influence their programming, making them ignore their presence. It was a dangerous move, but it was their only option. When they finally reached the main control room, Alex's heart was pounding in his chest. This was it, the moment of truth. They had come this far, and now they had to find the evidence. They needed to expose the program for what it truly was. Ziara stepped forward, her eyes scanning the room as she accessed the security system. She worked quickly, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she bypassed the encryption. Alex stood, by her side, his mind racing. What if they were caught? What if this was all for nothing? But then he looked at Ziara, and he knew they couldn't turn back. They had come this far together, and there was no way he was going to let the system win. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Ziara smiled. "I've got it," she said, her voice calm but filled with triumph. "I've accessed the central database. Everything we need is here." Alex felt a surge of relief wash over him. They had done it. They had found the truth. But as Ziara began downloading the files, something went wrong. A loud alarm blared, filling the room with an eerie, urgent sound. Alex's heart skipped a beat. They had been discovered. "Move!" he shouted, grabbing Ziara's arm and pulling her toward the exit. "We need to get out of here!" They ran through the maze of tunnels, the sound of security drones echoing behind them. Ziara's eyes were filled with determination, but Alex could see the strain on her face. They had to get out, now. Every second counted. As they neared the tunnel's exit, they heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps closing in behind them. The government's security forces were on their trail. They were so close, yet so far. Ziara turned to Alex, her face grim. "We won't make it if we keep running like this. We need to make a stand." Alex looked around, his mind working quickly. There was no time to think, no time for a plan. He had to act fast. He grabbed a small explosive charge from his bag and planted it at the entrance to the tunnel, hoping it would buy them enough time to escape. "Run!" Alex shouted, pushing Ziara ahead of him. "I'll cover the rear!" Ziara hesitated for a moment, but then she nodded, understanding what he was doing. Together, they ran toward the exit, and Alex heard the explosion behind them. The sound of the blast echoed through the tunnel, and the entrance was sealed off. They made it to the surface, breathless and covered in dust. The explosion had worked, but they knew it wouldn't be long before the government sent reinforcements. They had to keep moving. As they made their way to the rendezvous point, Alex felt a sense of relief wash over him. They had the evidence. They had the truth. The world would know what the stress relief program truly was, but they weren't done yet. The real fight was just beginning.